High vaults through these veins, trouble is
Welcome in, race fans, to yet another Elite Racing season. This will be the kind of kickoff race for the 2024 B season. My name is David Westergreen. I will be your host on Wednesday nights for the Cup Series, and this will be our Cup Series team. For those Wednesday nights, you'll see some other broadcasts on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays as well for the Trucks, Xfinity, and ARCA series. But we'll go in and we're going to run some Gen 4 cars at Daytona on the old bumpy surface tonight. Joining me, as always, will be Dave Huckleberry, our producer, and my co-host Zach Evans for tonight. And Zach, old bumpy Daytona Gen 4 cars. Only about 15 drivers. It's going to have a bit of an old school clash feel tonight, don't you think?
Oh yeah, definitely that old school Bud Shootout Busch Clash field. 125 miles here at the original scan of the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, before the repave near the turn of the decade. I think we're gonna be in for a nice little treat here, a nice little exhibition before we get properly into Elite Speed Weeks to start the 2024 B season.
Absolutely. I agree with you there. I want to note that this is also a memorial race for Michael Goodman's uncle, Mark Wojcik, who passed away earlier this week. And we're putting it on. All of the drivers who have raced have also donated over to the Wojcik family. And the winner will receive $50 from Elite Racing. So hopefully, this is all for a good cause, and everybody, pitches in and goes and donates, even if you weren't able to make the field tonight. And we're able to kind of make this race, a good cause and one for charity, and have a lot of fun tonight, and remember Mark, and hopefully put on a good race for him.
Yeah, and as we take a quick look at the starting lineup here, Gerald Campbell on the pole, Ethan Burrell will join him on the front row after open qualifying, a 5-minute session for these drivers. Sam Boutwell lining up third, Jesse Racimus fourth, Jaden Racimus fifth, Scott Crump sixth, Cody McCorkle seventh, Jeff Green rolling off P8th, Chad Frankenfield ninth, Walter Sahadek rounding out the top 10. Then you get Dustin Haynes and Jordan Owens on row 6. It'll be Carlos Acosta, Jared Rexing on row 7. Johnny Thomas, shotgun on our 15-car field. You mentioned this being the drivers donating to the Wojcik family for this event. That GoFundMe link, by the way, if you are watching here on the Elite Racing Network, it is in the description for tonight's broadcast. So if you have the means, by all means, click that link and donate a few dollars to that. I mean, Goody, as we call him here, Michael Goodman, one of the just all-time great guys here in Elite Racing Leagues that, been involved in the league since, I believe Chad said 2019. And fortunately, just with the drivers on track, Chad Frankenfield mentioned we've raised more than $300 for that, and we'd love to see that number go up if possible. But definitely great to put on this event as we close in. The pace lap should be starting here in the next 10 seconds or so for this nice little exhibition. You mentioned the Gen 4 race cars, David. A lot of, we'll call them time period paint schemes also on track for this race, adding to that throwback feel. Pretty cool to see some of those old cars on track.
Yep, I might accidentally call Gerald Campbell Ryan Newman up here at the front at some point. Might run into Ethan Burrell being Tony Stewart as well, but I do want to note that we've got more than just our typical crop of Wednesday drivers here. We've got some guys racing on Tuesdays in the ARCA series. We've got some guys that usually race trucks. We've got some guys that have raced Elite since the very beginning, like Chad Frankenfield, Ethan Burrell. So a really good little crop of drivers here, kind of a who's who from Elite. We've even got producer extraordinaire Carlos Acosta in this race as well. So definitely a large number of Elite drivers that have kind of made their mark over a various set of circumstances, and they're all going to come together in a race here at Daytona in this old bumpy surface in this Gen 4 car. Should be a fun one here. I'm pretty excited, and while we're here, Zach, you got any picks for this race? See who's maybe going to take it home at the end of the day, at the end of the night?
Man, you get in these exhibition races at Daytona. We've had a couple of them for various causes over the years. It's hard to bet against Scott Crump. I think that's got to be my pick for the night.
I'll go with shotgun on the field. He might roll a little Dale Jarrett strategy starting in the back. Old Johnny Thomas. I'll take the Belly Up Sports number 83.
I'll take
we're
Jeff
wrapping
Green.
around here. You'll take Jeff Green. That is 2000 Busch Series champion Jeff Green. If anyone at home is wondering, he'll be rolling off 8th in the Herbie Lovebug looking car. Pace car is off. We are getting set to fire up the engines, and Gerald Campbell hits the loud pedal. We are green in the 2024 B season here in the Mark Wojcik Memorial Race, and Campbell clears himself up to the high side in front of Ethan Burrell. We are racing at 2007 Daytona.
Gerald Campbell jumping out front in that Ryan Newman-inspired number 12. Sam Boutwell with the JTG, the 47, the Clorox, giving him the push on the inside line. We will admit we'll have to apologize a little bit. Naturally, this is not a league race. It's a hosted race, so some of the numbers on the ticker do not line up with the car, the numbers you see on the cars, but this is mostly a race for fun and for a good cause, so that's just one of the byproducts that comes with racing in a hosted session here on the iRacing service rather than a league setting where you can get those rosters just right.
Look who is joining the fray. It's your pick, Scott Crump, and right behind him, league owner and admin Chad Frankenfield. Right behind him, Dave's pick, Jeff Green, have worked that top side in early in this one, but Ethan Burrell led lap number 1 as we rolled through. We're working lap number 2, and we're joined in the booth by Mark Wojcik's nephew, Michael Goodman. And Goody, I just want to bring you in and say, our sincerest condolences. You want to take a couple of seconds here while we're early in the race and talk to us about Mark a little bit? I think that's probably worth noting here as these guys settle in and run some laps.
Yeah, and hopefully putting on a good show. Yeah, sorry I couldn't make it out on the track here tonight. Actually just got back from his funeral today, so it's been kind of a crazy day today. But yeah, if you guys have been around Elite long enough, there's the Bofana cars, if you remember that. That was one of Mark's business adventures that he did during his lifetime. But man, he was a guy that he was always excited when I'd show him some of the mock-up schemes and stuff like that. He was always very appreciative of the advertising and stuff like that. And, it's just something I could do to give back to Mark, and because he was such a generous man that I loved him very much, and he'd give the shirt off your back and or off his back if you needed it, even if it meant for him to be in dire situations. He was a really nice guy. Gonna miss him, but hopefully he's out there watching here tonight, and hopefully these guys put on a pretty good show.
I appreciate it, Goody. And while we got you, before anything happens, you got a pick to win this thing?
Oh man, I heard my boy Jeff Green's already picked. I know he's loving running that Herbie Love Bug out there tonight, but why not? I'm gonna go with old Gerald Campbell. He's gonna get lucky and pull in victory lane tonight.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it, Goody, and we're maybe thinking about a competition caution at lap 20, it appears. That might be a wise plan, I think, overall. Depends on if we get any natural caution so far. But, yeah, appreciate it, Goody. I'm glad, we're able to put this on for you, and hopefully we'll be able to see you out at the track this week for some of these other elite racing events.
Oh, yeah, I'll be back out on track soon enough. And I'd like to thank all the guys who donated, even the guys who weren't able to make the race here tonight. You guys are always generous for whatever cause. If it with my uncle here tonight, or like Zach Evans, Me Fine Foundation, some of the races we've done for that in the past. It's always cool to see us kind of rally together and support stuff for a good cause. So I'd like to thank you all very much for that. And, enjoy the race tonight.
Awesome. Well, that's Michael Goodman. Got him in here early in this event. And Goody, hopefully you can drive safely out there. We know you're kind of mobile right now, but and we'll see you in the rest of the week here for these other Speed Weeks races.
Thank you. Yep, will do.
All right, that's Michael Goodman, the nephew of Mark Wojcik and the subject of this race tonight. But the action on track, if we can direct back to it here, Scott Crump went ahead. He took the lead from Ethan Burrell. We are on board with Ethan Burrell right now. These guys have been slicing and dicing. I've seen these cars a little bit wiggly in these corners, and with those old bumps on this surface, it's making this side-by-side racing a little bit more treacherous than it will be the rest of this week at the newly repaved Daytona.
I mean, you could see on this onboard here, or even in some of the aerial shots here, how much that wheel is moving around as they negotiate these corners. At the time that this scan took place, right? I mean, this pavement had been around for several decades at Daytona. It had so much character. All those bumps you're seeing. Mm-hmm. It really made Daytona much more of a handling track than it is now. That was kind of what differentiated it from Talladega, even when they were both restrictor plate tracks at that time. Obviously, it's not as much the case now with the much smoother surfaces at both of those racetracks, but certainly it's giving these guys quite a challenge, especially in these Gen 4 race cars that have quite a bit more horsepower than even the modern-day NASCAR Cup Series machine. So it's kind of a perfect storm in that sense.
It is, and we're seeing it here. Gerald Campbell got loose off of turn 4 last time. You're looking out the right window at a Tony Stewart car. That's a different Tony Stewart car from the run that's running second right now. That's Jordan Owens up here running, I believe he's up to 6th in that. Dude, yeah, Gerald is getting loose coming off of turn 4. Every time through there, he is not comfortable in that 12 machine. About the 4th one on back. Scott Crump shifts back to the outside in front of Chad Frankenfield. Chad's running a Greg Biffle throwback. Oh, we got a wreck. They saved it.
He saved it.
We might want to throw a yellow here and keep the pack together. That's what I would certainly consider on an exhibition race. We'll see what the admins decide to do here.
It doesn't look like that'll be the case, but if they already had they're still discussing throwing the yellow at 20, so I think the plan is to just let that be what it is for now, and I think that's fine. It's funny, I was actually about to say, for a guy like Gerald, if you're having that much issue with the handling of the car, knowing you're going to get at least one caution in this race, it might not hurt to just drop back at the next opportunity, settle the car down, figure some stuff out at the back of the pack, and make sure you get to the end of this race. Because while it is a fun race, there are no fast repairs or anything like that, so you'd hate to have an incident because you're fighting the race car here on lap 10 and not be around for the end of this race.
Absolutely, yeah, we saw it. If we can, I don't know if we'll get a replay there, but we also saw Chad Frankenfield cut 3 wide, get Scott Crump shuffled to the outside. He and Jeff Green have now begun leading that outside lane. Ethan Burrell continues to lead on the bottom, and Gerald just bounced it off the fence. there, causing Scott Crump to check up pretty significantly. That might lose them the lead draft. Here comes Jordan Owens and Jaden Racimus to the outside.
And see, that's kind of what I was talking about, right? Now you've been up the right side of that race car. Hopefully it's not too severe. You'll be able to get some of that repaired during the caution. But still the result is at a place where the draft and the aero is so important. You've wounded that race car. It might be worth considering just hanging out for a few laps, getting the sea legs back underneath himself for Gerald Campbell.
Looks like all of our cars are running at full song. We have 10 cars in this front pack within about a second of the race leader. Sam Boutwell and Cody McCorkle have fallen off the pack by about 6 or 7 seconds. They will not be in danger of going a lap down. Johnny Thomas trails just behind them, and then Walter Sahadak and Jared Rexing, whom I believe Rexing was the car that got sideways initially.
Yes.
And that's what kind of caused the whole mess there. They will be running 14th and 15th. Again, I don't believe these cars will be in danger of going a lap down, but they have lost that lead draft, and that may, that'll at least cost them these next 8 laps of being able to shuffle forward for track position.
Meanwhile, this front pack 2x2 as they go into turn 3 on lap 12 of this 50-lap affair.
Ooh, Carlos in the wall. I think he might have got put there by Gerald Campbell. Jaden hit the wall as well. Oh no, Carlos got loose up top and bounced it off the fence. But as you mentioned, these guys.
And now, we got one now shape on the apron there. I believe that was Jesse Racimus. Yes, he managed to save that as well, but he will fall to the back of this
Dustin
back.
Haynes in the wall now.
Man, these guys have a handful at the moment.
They do. Gen 4 cars, I believe, wear the tires a little bit more, especially on these bumpier tracks. There's not much of a difference from the ARCA style car here on iRacing to this Gen 4 car, but where the difference does lie is that tire wear. And these guys are experiencing that, I think, for the first time on a long run. 13 laps. I'm willing to bet no one made 13 laps of practice.
I would wager you're correct, and 100%. I mean, that's how these things played out at the time also. I mean, again, talk about that old surface. To have a chance to win the Daytona 500 at this time, you had to have a car that would hold up over a long run and handle and be able to stay in front, even when guys were drafting with you, drafting alongside you, taking air off the rear of the car. It took the full package to really be in contention at Daytona at that time. And we're kind of seeing that at the moment, seeing which guys still have the race car 15 laps into this run.
Yeah, I talked about how we don't have just Cup Series car, drivers in this race. We got a number of our various series and drivers and experiences. The top 5 drivers are all Cup Series drivers right now, right? Guys who run on Wednesdays, who've made their way through and have a ton of elite experience racing with each other. Gerald Campbell's up here in this top group as well. The only kind of outlier on that is Dustin Haynes, who's fairly new to elite, but he's been able to hold his own. We've seen other guys with a little bit less experience bounce it off the wall and have these troubles and issues. I haven't even seen Jared Rexing in quite some time. I think he's mostly running IndyCar right now. So, for guys who've won races and have won with this group, they're currently experiencing some struggles, but we're seeing the experience of guys like Chad Frankenfield, Ethan Burrell, Jeff Green, Scott Crump. Those are the guys who have really migrated to the front right here, and that's kind of how it was, right? Like you said, Zach, that's kind of how it used to be. You used to always see Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Michael Waltrip, Jeff Gordon up there, and
hang on.
That's 2 best friends right there. Those guys love each other. Ethan Burrell and Chad Frankenfield, they've never run into each other once.
Well, I believe Chad referred to Chad as an idiot. He may have clipped the apron there to get himself out of shape. We'll take a look at the Mark Rebelos replay machine. Oh, Mark Rebelos was busy down at Sonoma today. I know that. That's why he's not with us this evening. But we'll get a look on the replay and see if there was contact between those 2 great friends, or if indeed Chad clipped the apron. It sounded like, from what I heard, right there.
Yep. Looks like he got on the paint.
Yeah. So that's why he called himself an idiot. And of course, right here, he would have gotten a nice little black flag clear, which is standard procedure. But technically, he was on pit exit ever so briefly as he was trying to regain control of that car. But pretty much anytime that happens, that's an easy clear for the admins, because obviously you're not really speeding on that pit road at that point. You're trying not to crash.
Exactly. Yeah, and so Chad Frankenfield will live to race another day despite that small mistake. And up front, Scott Crump has taken the lead from Ethan Burrell, who was the temporary benefactor, but is now back in second on the inside line once again. Battle is for third there between Jordan Owens and Jeff Green. Jeff's help on the top is kind of deteriorated, and those Home Depot, I guess one's technically going after a Chevy, one's a Pontiac. Those cars on the bottom have rolled their way past the outside line and are clear up top.
Yeah, one of those is like 1999, 2000 Tony Stewart, the second one out of the Tony Stewart cars. And the other one's more like your mid-2000s. I think I see that car and I think about probably Tony's best chance to win the 500, right? When he was him and Kurt Busch were battling for the lead so much of that day, and then they got together. And then I really don't remember what happened the rest of that race. It doesn't ring a bell.
Can you tell Zach is a Mark Martin fan? We didn't get any Mark Martin representation out here either. We got
That's
two Tony Stewarts and no Mark. Wait, do we have a Mark?
Walt's the
Walter. Yeah, Walter is in a Mark Martin Winn-Dixie car back here.
Got the Winn-Dixie look. Love that. That would have been, around, I believe, 99, 2000. Around the time Mark said he was going to stop Busch Series racing. And then, of course, he didn't, because Mark Martin.
Mark never stopped racing anything. That guy, you could probably put him in a car right now. He'd probably run top 15.
So, anyhow, we do have some Mark representation, and I am glad for it.
Not a stage, but as we get down to lap 20, these guys up here at the front of the field have gotten a little bit more racy. Scott Crump continues to lead the way. Jordan Owens kind of peeking inside, but Ethan Burrell's up near the outside wall. I think he kept it out of there. I think that was really good car control by Ethan. Looks like Scott got up a little bit and kind of pushed Ethan high, and Ethan kept it off the wall. And as they get to the line, Chad Frankenfield throws the caution flag. That will group the field up, and we will come down pit road. I imagine all these guys will be picking up 4 fresh tires and fixing the damage from any of the ones we saw that bounced off of the fence. And we will catch our breath and come back here for another, we'll call it a 25-lap shootout.
Yep, this will be a chance. I know that these guys have one set of tires in the pits. Have to imagine all of them will grab those now. You're not sure if you're going to get another caution.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess you could try to get cute and hope you get the caution, because I'm sure it would help. Again, handling's so important if you save that set of tires. But, man, I'd hate to take that chance. I'd hate to take that chance when we just ran these 20 laps clean and green. We know, let's be honest, how iRacing can be when it comes to determining whether or not a caution comes out at Daytona and at Talladega. Even if we do have a significant incident, there's no guarantee we will get a caution. So,
yep. Absolutely right. And on top of that, say you do stay out, right? You pick up that track position, but you put yourself in harm's way because the faster cars with that extra grip will be streaming around you on both sides. Then you put yourself in harm's way from restarting at the back on the fresh tires, having to drive through cars that are slower and poor handling. So I think I think the safest plan is to just take your tires now and try to save your stuff on this next run.
Yeah, no, I agree. Not only are you gotta be a good bit off the pace here, I think you'd almost have to. I think first off, you'd have to consider. I don't know. I agree that you should go ahead and take the tires. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Scott Crump was about a quarter to a half second off of his fastest lap there at the end of the run, where he was running in the 46th bracket, and he ran a 45.3 early in the race. So, I do think there's some speed differential between these cars with these older tires at this point. But we'll let these drivers decide. Maybe they'll have something different to say about it.
Getting to look up and down pit road here at the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Oh, somebody had a very quick pit stop.
Scott Crump.
So
Johnny Thomas.
I'm wondering if they went. See, I was wondering if maybe fuel only might be the move here. That was, but I couldn't talk myself into it for the reason you're saying. I'd hate to be in front of these guys with tires, but maybe that is the plan. I figure you need to at least get fuel here, no matter what.
Definitely fuel. I wonder if Scott and Johnny took right side tires. That'd be my question. And I never saw the jack on Scott Crump's car, so Scott does not seem to mind keeping the old tires on that machine.
Johnny said he took 2.
And Johnny took 2 right sides. I think that might have been a better move. Johnny might be able to maintain. We'll see what Scott does. Scott's a fairly aggressive driver. I think Scott will probably be able to keep it up there, but he will not have the same advantage that he had before. Coming off pit road, the order will be Scott Crump, then Johnny Thomas, then Chad Frankenfield. Then Gerald Campbell and Dustin Haynes will round out the top 5. Saw Ethan Burrell took some time on pit road. Jordan Owens took some time on pit road getting some things fixed. Carlos Acosta is still on pit road. That 3 car from bouncing it off the wall, that might have had a little bit of damage.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine some of those guys got some repairs here as we were taking advantage of that caution period. While we have a moment here and these guys continue to pace under this competition caution, we might as well take the chance to remind everyone, hey, this is really just the beginning of Elite Speed Weeks. Technically, it began last week with the Elite Racing Experience Series at New Smyrna, but still plenty of racing ahead. Tomorrow night, there's the Clash at Daytona. And then Wednesday, you and I will be back at it, Dave, because we'll have the Daytona 500 qualifying and the duels for the Home Place Beer Daytona 500. And after that, it's all big-time points racing. You got the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series on Sunday night, the Rebel S Grand National Series on Monday night, and the following Wednesday, August the 7th, the 11th running of the Home Place Beer Daytona 500. You'll be able to watch all of that right here on the Elite Racing Network, and then the 2024 B season will be properly underway.
Exactly. And yeah, you and I believe, will be running next Sunday in the Truck Series race.
Well, it's like I was telling old Huck before the show. I've got that new wheel and pedal. I've never been a good qualifier at Daytona in the first place, so I will be attempting to make the race. I am not optimistic. There is a good chance I go 0 for 2 next week between the trucks and the Grand National Series, but maybe I'll get lucky and be able to make some laps. We'll see.
Yep. And if so, I mean, you look out. The two of us will be nose to tail. We'll be Dale Jr., Michael Waltrip out here to throw it back to the old pre-2000 days. We'll be up at the front.
Shake and bake.
Scott Crump and his no tire call will lead us back to the green. Johnny Thomas will restart to his outside with Jeff Green on his rear bumper. Green flag is out. Chad Frankenfield is behind Scott Crump. Another couple of guys that have never had any run-ins whatsoever, but I'm sure they'll be bygones here as long as they draft well together.
Well, the first test has been passed, right? They managed to get through the gears, did not spin the tires or anything like that. We did not have an incident with those two guys on the older tires at the front of the field. We are underway. They go down the super stretch here at Daytona. Still those two guys, Johnny Thomas, Scott Crump, out front.
Jared Rexing has moved up into 6th. I believe we had some first look at the choose cone there under our kind of preview of the week. We might see the choose cone get broken out a little bit this week. Johnny Thomas loose off turn 4. Jeff Green cuts to the inside. They're 3 wide for 3rd on back. Johnny Thomas is heading to the back. That 2-tire call might have upset the balance on that 83 car.
Oh.
He is still struggling up at
issue.
the top of the racetrack. Okay.
Yeah, I believe I heard Johnny Thomas say there might be an issue with his force feedback, which you need, especially at this place tonight.
Yep. You need to be able to feel the bumps, the way that car is responding. Chad Frankenfield dices to the outside around Scott Crump. He will go for the lead. He jumps in front of Jeff Green. It'll now be Gerald Campbell. And that 12 car right behind Scott Crump, and Gerald's car is moving around a lot more significantly than the rest of the guys up in the front of this group. And that's kind of been the case the whole night already. Gerald seemed to have a little bit tougher time adapting to the handling of this car on the bumps.
Yeah, it's really been a handful for Gerald. We saw that in the first green flag run, and it hasn't been better so far. I mean, you see just how far he's drifting off that yellow line, almost into the door there of Chad Frankenfield. It's starting to look like the SRX race all over again.
Yeah, that's about right. Way things bumping and beating around, but everybody else seems to be able to hold it down. So I'm wondering if that's just a Gerald thing. Oh, Dustin way off the bottom of the racetrack now, almost into the right rear of Jeff Green. That could have wadded up 3 or 4 cars. Ethan Burrell gave Dustin Haynes just a little bit of breathing room, but that opens the door for that outside lane to surge forward and push Chad Frankenfield out to the lead. We have 23 laps to go.
You know, I was in the Do Good voice chat for a little bit pre-race, talking to Jeff Green, Gerald Campbell, Jared Rexing, Michael Goodman. There was a little bit of ribbing going on in that chat. Jeff Green with the Herbie, right? So that's part of the tribute to Mark Wojcik. That apparently Mark, huge fan of that movie, so they made the decision to give Jeff the Volkswagen. I'm not sure that Jeff is a huge Volkswagen fan, but he's got to be happy with how that car's running right now.
Jeff ran a whole entire, I believe, Erska season with that Volkswagen Herbie paint scheme. I think that's where that comes from. But Jeff's a pretty good sport with any time people are sponsoring him. He's always running a lot of these races, and running that Herbie car, and he's kept it up at the front all day long. He's been right about there, right about second on the outside lane, just about the entire race has Jeff Green. And I do wonder if he will get a chance to kind of surge forward and get a chance to lead this thing in that Herbie car.
He looks in the mirror, and as is often the case with Jared Rexing, he's always in those Nesquik cars.
Yeah, yes.
But it has to be a little bit of an out-of-body experience for Jeff Green whenever he sees that Nesquik car in the rear view mirror. I did add
sideways.
Hold on, who is that off in the grass?
Dustin Haynes. Ethan Burrell got to his back bumper in the tri-oval, and then Dustin bobbled a little tiny bit, and Ethan gave him a tiny little bump. It sent the 3 cars sideways. Think Ethan let him gather it up, but Ethan had Jaden Racimus right on his bumper, so it was kind of bumper cars from 3 cars up there. Everybody gathered it up, and I think this pack is close enough that it will stay together. Yeah, Jeff Green now gets the chance to lead on the outside lane here after all that shuffling.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, he's looking in pretty good shape right now, because on that inside, well, I say that, and Scott Crump draws right back in. I was about to say there's a pretty big hole there between first and second on that inside line, but it closed in a hurry there out of turn 4.
It closed in a hurry, and then Ethan Burrell diced to the inside, but that has now put Gerald Campbell 3 wide with Sam Boutwell up on the outside and Ethan Burrell down low. Gerald will clear Boutwell, a pretty big power move by Gerald, and he's going to stay in the middle lane. He's going to keep going after Jared Rexing here. He's going to think better of it, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, if I could put on the team owner hat for old Sam Boutwell in the Wally Racing number 47, I'd say maybe let Gerald up before he puts us all in the fence.
Yeah. But Sam's having a good run in the. I'm not sure if that would be Marcus Ambrose or John Wood in that 47 car, but either way, it's had a good showing. Sam's been able to keep it up at the front, and I think he checked up for that big incident there in turn 1 that was kind of a non-caution. Lost the pack, but he's been able to keep it up here and within the top 10 the entire time.
Sam, we see him on Sunday nights in the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series. Definitely loves the super speedway racing. He even runs in one league that almost exclusively runs Daytona, Talladega, these super speedway tracks on Saturday evenings. This is where he feels like he has a shot to mix it up with the big boys, and right now he's hanging with the front pack, so we'll see how it works out for him.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, when I I had all the guys up front are Cup regulars, and we're split apart beyond that. Boutwell is kind of the guy throwing a wrench in the mix here. Jared Rexing is too, but Rexing's run a number of races that I've broadcasted for the Elite Racing Network. He is a long-standing veteran of this series, and Jeff Green's run a lot of races, but obviously those bottom three there on that inside line, that's kind of your big three in this race. Guys who win Cup Series races on the regular, maybe with the exception of Chad a little bit, but Chad's run so many races and he's won a lot of them in this series that it doesn't really matter if he's in a dry spell or not, right? He's one of the big timers in this series, and Scott Crump and Ethan Burrell are perennial Cup Series championship contenders, and Jeff Green, Jared Rexing, Sam Boutwell, Jaden Racimus, they've all really shown a really strong propensity to race with those guys in this Gen 4 car, and they're not getting bullied around out here, that's for sure.
And, Jaden Racimus, last season in particular, our 2024 A season, you really started to see things click for him. It wasn't an every week thing. He wasn't in contention for a championship like we saw Jesse Racimus on Sunday nights, but he started to really put together some strong runs, some good finishes. I would not be surprised if we're talking a lot more about him this season on the Elite Racing Network.
Yeah, I've run the ARCA series here early on, and I've raced around Jaden. He's been very respectful on the track, and I believe Jaden's the son of Jesse, right?
That is correct.
Clarify,
That's
right?
correct.
So their father-son are running inverse order there on the bottom. 19, the green and white car, and then the Casey Kane 2006 car on the bottom is Jesse Racimus. That's his dad. So Jesse's a long-standing Elite Racing member, and he's brought his son along as well, and that's a cool father-son dynamic. Kind of, there's two pairs now. There might even actually be three. I think Wyatt Canadle brought his dad as well, but I was thinking of Tyler and Frank Fody, who've been running and iRacing together here recently, and Fody brought his dad along, and Boutwell's in the wall. No, and Dustin Haynes is going to turn him. And Boutwell's going to get the worst of it. The caution is not out yet.
Yeah, see, and that's what I was worried about. That's definitely, if this were a real-life NASCAR race, that would have probably brought out a caution, but for whatever reason here at Daytona and Talladega, those two cars just never lost enough speed. Sam Boutwell ended up collecting Walter Sahadek, but by virtue of collecting him, it kind of straightened him out. So they never really came to a stop and brought out that caution. And they're going to need one at this point if they're going to get caught back up, especially, like you say, Sam Boutwell took a pretty good shot in the nose when he went up the hill there. I'm pretty sure there's some significant nose damage on that 47 that he'll need to get repaired to even have a shot of contending, even if he gets the caution.
Right. And also, Cody McCorkle, Dustin Haynes have lost the pack as well. Johnny Thomas has now lost the pack, so looks like we are down to 9 cars in this front pack. If the caution does not come out due to these 9 cars in the next 15 laps, the race is probably over for that group of 5 back behind. But, never say never. Those guys can just wait and see if this group wrecks themselves, because it's very possible.
I'm not sure if Jaden Racimus got loose out of 2 there, if there was some father-son communication, but they dropped back a little bit off of turn 2. Not enough to lose the draft, but they were definitely, about a half second or so off this lead pack at the moment. They're still plenty close enough. They're going to suck right back up here, but they did lose some ground there out of turn 2 that lap.
Yeah, wanted to get into the father-son dynamics that Elite Racing has become. It's been around so long. Some of the drivers have had children, but Frank Fody's been brought in. He won an ARCA race earlier this season. Obviously, Jesse and Jaden have both come in. Wyatt and Randy Canadle. This is a family sport, and that's kind of why we're doing the Mark Wojcik Memorial Race, because Michael Goodman's kind of like a family member to a lot of the guys in here. He's been around since the very beginning, and I've run countless races with Goody this league, and others, and he's always been a big supporter of mine. He's been a big supporter of a lot of the guys in here. He's Jeff Green's team owner, Gerald Campbell's team owner, I believe, in this as well. So, just a big personality, but that family aspect is kind of why we're here tonight at all. And it shows on the racetrack between Jesse and Jaden, but it also shows in the whole entire community and how close knit this group is.
Absolutely. And We say all those lovely things about family, but don't look now, Dave. We're getting down to, it's going to be about a dozen laps to go when we get back to the line. The friendly family vibes are going to start fading away here shortly, I believe. It's all well and good to get along, and we're all friendly, and we're all happy to help out a good cause. But at some point, the race car drivers are going to remember they're race car drivers and really put the gloves on to win this race.
Yeah, and I think you're going to have to play this like a track position race. I mean, we have seen these guys struggle to pass for the race lead. Jeff Green has been up top. He has not been able to clear to the bottom of the racetrack. Scott Crump, when Jeff Green has gotten to the outside, has not been able to pull out from behind Chad Frankenfield. It gets locked up when these guys start to push and get very close together. There's not a whole lot of space to make moves. And with the way this Gen 4 car kind of races before they redesign this thing, hopefully this year, I think there's very little that these guys can do without the benefit of a mistake. And Jeff Green looks like he or Jared Rexing got up really high. It's going to make Gerald Campbell drop down. It might give Scott Crump the opening he needs to make a run to this top side and go after Chad Frankenfield for the race lead.
You can tell he's thinking about it. You saw the right side headlights peeking out there from that head-on angle outside of turn 1. Didn't quite make the move. Now he does. That's where you could tell by the body language of that car. He had that move in mind. He makes the move out of turn 2. And now he's got to get out front here because I think Chad Frankenfield got a little out of shape there on the backstretch.
A little bit. I think Chad also... Chad was falling back because Scott had pulled out from behind him. He lost that draft a little bit. Jordan Owens checked up behind, and Gerald Campbell kind of jumped out to try and go 3 wide, decided against it. Owens now tucks back to the back bumper of Chad, and Scott Crump does find a way to make his way by Chad Frankenfield for that race lead. He and Jeff Green will now be side by side in that lockstep that we've seen with 10 laps to go.
Man, Jeff Green really working that car up the hill in turns 1 and 2. He's flirting with that outside wall a lot more than any of the other guys. I'm not even sure he's getting out of shape. I think that's an intentional decision there from the Busch Series champion, trying to get that car rolling down the hill and get some speed on corner exit, but without people being brave enough to work with him up there, I'm not sure if it's going to work out.
Doesn't seem to be helping the guys behind so much, right? He rises up the top of the racetrack. Those, whoever's behind, it's Jared Rexing or Ethan Burrell or whoever, has kind of they rise up behind him, but then they are later to turning it down, and the outside lane doesn't seem to react so well to that as it stacks back, and it allows that inside lane to kind of surge forward and get the lead going down the back straightaway before that outside line takes that momentum and clears up like it is right now.
Yep. Oh, and he's got to drop to the bottom here. So Jeff Green will now drop to the low line in front of Scott Crump as he's got to lead this field to the line. 8 laps to go this time by.
Scott did not like that. Jump back to the inside. Rexing will now get back behind Jeff Green. He does.
No!
Chad spun Crump.
Is he going to keep it out of the wall?
He
kept it out of the wall, but that's not going to bring out a caution. And again, unless we get a yellow somehow or another, that's probably it for Scott Crump.
Yeah, I would certainly not count Scott Crump out if we do get that yellow flag, and it's certainly possible. There's still 8 drivers up here with a chance to win this race.
Definitely, if we get that caution, I would.
Oh, they're bouncing off each other.
Oh, absolutely not count out and upset Scott Crump, and I don't know. He might get it. You saw how close, I believe that was Chad Frankenfield and Gerald Campbell were to each other in turns 3 and 4 that time.
Jared Rexing took the lead at the start-finish line. Oh, no, he didn't. He was not the leader by 8 1/1000ths of a second to Jeff Green that time through. Could be a very close finish if it repeats like that. Inside line led out that time, and Rexing's got Ethan Burrell tucked up right behind. Gerald Campbell following in that trio, 2 trios, and then a father-son tandem at the very back of this field. Lane's led by Jeff Green and Jared Rexing here, Chad Frankenfield and Ethan Burrell, then Jordan Owens and Gerald Campbell. Rexing not able to run that Jeff Green line, it seems like. He is not getting that same run down the hill from the outside lane here. But he did lead the lap. I think that outside lane is much tighter than that inside lane is.
Yeah, Chad Frankenfield is just having a little bit harder time holding that car on the bottom, which is hurting that bottom lane. But of course, I say that now. You saw Jared Rexing really go up the hill in turns 1 and 2. I think you're just kind of in this seesaw spot where down to straightaways, the outside line has it figured out, but that inside line is just really helping carry some speed through the corners.
Here's a move.
Oh, this has got to be 3 wide.
Ethan Burrell to the inside of Jared Rexing. He takes over the lead of the outside lane. Jaden Racimus jumps to the inside. He'll take over, I think that's 6th. He might even get 5th here in that 19 car.
So now you've got Jeff Green on the inside, and that's Ethan Burrell leading the outside.
Ethan Burrell's got the black tinged 20 car. Jordan Owens has the white tinged 20 car. Or we cloned Tony Stewart. Now he's racing for the lead at Daytona twice.
Man, if they get side by side, we might have an aneurysm trying to figure out who won. But as it stands right now, Ethan Burrell out front. He's able to drop down to the bottom in front of Jeff Green in the old Herbie car. Oh, boy.
Oh, Chad got into Jeff. Gerald smashes into the wall. I think Gerald's going to be okay, but that 12 car is very hurt on the right front.
Yeah, he's definitely fallen off the pace there. So that drops another contender from this lead pack with 4 laps to go down to these 7 cars battling for the win.
Jordan Owens led the last lap at the line. Jared Rexing slices to the outside to try to get around him.
I think Tony got Tony out of shape there. Now we're 3 wide.
Yep. Jaden's in the wall. Oh, and it took Jesse with him. Oh, and Jesse's going to come back up the racetrack. Is that going to draw the yellow? Jesse bounces it off the fence. 70 still wrecking sideways in front of the cars that are closing, but no, caution is out. We are still green, even though Jesse Racimus crashes it out. We're down to 5.
Down to 5 cars for the lead. 3 laps to go here in the Mark Wojcik Memorial Race. Out front.
I wouldn't count out Jaden Racimus at this point anyway. I mean, he's so far back he might miss the last lap wreck and drive by everyone.
It might be the 1979 Daytona 500 all over again. Who knows? Right now, you see Jordan Owens out front, Jared Rexing to the outside in the Nesquik number 10. Ethan Burrell, 3rd place, the 2nd Tony Stewart car in line. 2 laps to go this time.
Jordan Owens hasn't led a lap all race long, but here he is up here battling for the lead. Jared Rexing and Jeff Green, they've been a pretty good tandem up on the outside, but it's inverse order of the way it was working earlier when Jeff Green took the lead. The first time, now Rexing leads Green.
Catching a slower car. That driver pulling to the apron will not get in the way of the leaders here. Believe that was Carlos Acosta.
It was.
Leaders going through turns 3 and 4. It will be the white flag this time for the Mark Wojcik Memorial Race. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Tony Stewart, Jeff Green, or Jeff Green?
Or Greg Biffle. White flag is out. Rexing leads it. Outside lane a little bit stronger. Chad Frankenfield's jumped up there to try and push it along. Inside lane will prevail in the center of the corners. Owen draws a bead on Jared Rexing. And now it'll come down to the push on this back straightaway. See if these guys get wild with the bump drafts.
Down the back stretch right now. Jared Rexing's getting the push. He might be in good shape. Jeff Green's not going to be able to clear down. Could not get in front of Jordan Owens. Can the bottom put something together here? Jordan Owens with a run. Coming out turn 4.
Jeff Green to the top. He's not going to get there. They wreck. Jordan Owens and Jared Rexing side by side to the line. At the line, it is Jordan Owens. Jordan Owens, Jared Rexing, Ethan Burrell, and Jaden Racimus.
Man, Jordan Owens picking up the win. We'll look at the Mark Reblos replay machine right here. He was leading that inside line, but Jeff Green's going to go up the hill into the wall and then collect all these cars behind them. At that point, it's a drag race, all just like that year I pretended never happened, all over again.
They're leaning on each
Oh.
other.
They leaned. Rexing trying to give Owens the business. Owens just had a little bit extra run. The car on the outside does not have enough, and the margin of victory was 9/1000ths of a second. I think with 10 or 12 to go, I was like, oh, the margin of victory could be 8/1000ths of a second. It could be close like that. It was. Jordan Owens is going to take Tony Stewart to victory lane at Daytona, something Tony was very familiar with in the exhibitions, but he never got it done on the big stage. And I wonder if maybe Jordan can keep that momentum and carry it over to Wednesday night.
Well, what an exciting start to Speed Weeks here in Elite. Obviously, this was a little bit for fun, a little bit for a good cause. Not too many points on the line, but anytime you can win against this group of drivers, it's a big deal. Jordan Owens doing the task tonight. You see the results on the screen. Jared Rexing second, Ethan Burrell third, Jaden Racimas fourth, Chad Frankenfield fifth, Gerald Campbell sixth, Cody McCorkle finishing seventh, Scott Crump eighth, Dustin Haynes ninth, Johnny Thomas rounding out the top 10, Watson Haydick 11th, Jeff Green 12th, Sam Boutwell 13th, Carlos Acosta 14th, Jesse Racimas rounding out the 15-car field.
Quite a race there. We'll give Jordan a few seconds, see if he wants to pop in for an interview. Otherwise, we'll put a button on the very first race of this 2024 B Speed Weeks, and that's a fun one. The way this car drove, I mean, these guys really raced hard. They were side by side the entire night, despite a smaller car count in the field, and we saw a lot of passing. These guys were able to put together a really good finish for us, and even provide a little bit of a photo finish there with a 9/1000 second differential for the first race of Speed Week. So I guess the question now is, do any of these races beat that one in terms of finish, close finish?
Man, it's got to be tough to top that, but obviously plenty of chances over the next 2 weeks. We're going to have a couple of qualifying races. We're going to have 3 points races across the 3 NASCAR series. So I won't say it won't happen.
All right. Well, I'm not seeing Jordan in any Discord channels, so I think we can probably call it. I don't know, Dave, should we message him and try to get him in?
I don't see that he's even online, so.
All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up there, but a really good race.
Absolutely. And of course, thanks to everyone who tuned in. And again, Mark Wojcik Memorial Race, if you can, be sure to check out that link in the YouTube description if you've watched to this point, or you're watching the on-demand replay, of course, on the Elite Racing Network YouTube channel. And you have the means, we'd love for you to click that link and donate a few dollars if you can, and make this. That's kind of the reason for tonight. Obviously, the racing product was incredible, but there was a greater cause tonight. So if by all means you can do that, we would surely appreciate it here in the family of the Elite Racing League.
We sure would, yeah. And we appreciate everybody for tuning in or for watching later, and hopefully you have a good night, and make sure you tune into these upcoming Elite Racing Network races. I think we're going to have a bunch of spectacular shows. This was just the beginning. For David Huckleberry, David Westergreen, and Zach Evans, we will see you guys on Wednesday, but tune in tomorrow for the official class.